Allison Sargent joins me on the set to take a look at the papers today. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Jeannie.
Lots of focus on the inauguration today of Joe Biden.
That's right, Jeannie. We're going to start with the U.S. papers, where there really is not a celebratory mood. And you can see one of the reasons for this right in the front page headline from the Wall Street Journal. That's because yesterday, the U.S., the death toll in the U.S. from the coronavirus passed 400,000 people. We see in that front page photo there, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their spouses honoring those who died at a ceremony yesterday. So not a lot of celebration in the U.S. papers, but there are some glimmers of hope, perhaps. You could say Biden becomes president, Harris makes history, and a battered nation looks for hope. That's the summary of Inauguration Day from USA Today. Americans, though, are lucky if they have energy for hope. We can see on the front page of the New York Times, it's the dawn of a new era. The nation is exhausted. That exhaustion, at least, does seem to be bipartisan, Jeannie, even if people are exhausted in very different ways and for very different reasons.
Now, despite the lack of that celebratory feeling, the Washington Post is still encouraging the U.S. to celebrate.
Yeah, in their editorial, the paper writes, don't sell this momentous occasion short. They say measured against what could have gone wrong while Biden's pending inauguration is cause for celebration. Basically, the paper says it's a celebration of constitutional processes that did their jobs. That's also the idea of this cartoon from Walt Handelsman for Louisiana paper, The Advocate. We see here the American founding fathers watching the inauguration themselves. They say 232 years later, and our instruction manual still works. So they're patting themselves on the back. But I think a lot of people might say there are a lot of ways it doesn't work. But, we're going to be optimistic today, Jeannie.
I think a lot of Americans could look outside of the U.S. and Europe in particular to see that there is some excitement outside of their country, at least.
There is. A lot of papers, especially in the UK, are expressing a lot of excitement and a lot of relief. My favorite front page today is from Metro News. They're saying, at last, it's the back of Donald Trump. The strangest front page I think I've seen so far is from left-wing British tabloid The Daily Star. They say, well, that was a weird dream, and they show Trump in what appears to be a straitjacket with a burning White House behind him. Meanwhile, papers in France are really focusing on welcoming the new president, Joe Biden. I like this Libération headline here, Let's Joe. The paper writes that it is a very immense task, though, that lies ahead of the 46th president. He inherits an ailing, divided, and economically devastated America.
I think the French like that his middle name is Robinette. A little French there. Now, the impact of Donald Trump's presidency, though, is certainly going to be felt for a long time, regardless of a Biden presidency.
That's right. A lot of what the Trump administration did is going to be quite hard to undo. Things like reuniting families who were separated at the border. As of October, over 500 children still hadn't been reunited with their parents. The cartoonist for the Toronto Star, Theo Moudakis, hints at the darker parts of Trump's legacy in this cartoon. You'll notice that he's leaving bloody footsteps as he walks to the stairs to go up to Air Force One. The image of National Guard troops doing security today in Washington, also sort of a visual reminder of Trump's legacy, both national security and the pandemic. Because of both of those things, there's going to be a small crowd at the inauguration today. And as the Australian cartoonist Kathy Wilcox points out here, that means Donald Trump will have at least one last thing to brag about. His crowd size really will have been bigger than Joe Biden's.
Now, there are a lot of questions out there about what Donald Trump is going to do next once he leaves office. The Wall Street Journal reporting that he might start his own political party.
That's right, Jeannie. This potential political party already has a name. It would be called the Patriot Party. The Wall Street Journal reports that Donald Trump has been discussing the potential of creating this party with his associates. The paper says, while Donald Trump certainly has the support to start his own party, it's unclear just how serious he is about doing it. The paper also writes that even though the relationship between Trump and Republican leaders has been quite tense, party officials in the Republican Party really do chafe at the thought that Trump would have his own party and then steal support from them. So you can see that all Republicans are really in a bind. They maybe can't live with Trump or don't want to live with Trump anymore, but they're going to have a hard time living without him.
All right, just to wrap up now, we've been saying this year's inauguration is going to be very scaled down, but it is going to make up for it with some big-name celebrities.
That's right. Lady Gaga and Jennifer Lopez will both be performing at the inauguration. And then in lieu of the traditional inaugural ball, Tom Hanks is going to be hosting a televised special featuring a bunch of other celebrities. We see J-Lo there taking a masked photo with some of the National Guard troops. The Washington Post writes that this really marks the return to Washington for many celebrities who largely avoided avoided the Trump White House. This article expresses the hope that using arts as a shared experience, if done right, can really take partisanship out of the debate. I think it's worth noting that celebrities have become deeply swept up in the partisanship in the United States. But here's hoping, Jeannie, we can have faith, I guess, in Lady Gaga and J-Lo.
Thank you so much for that, Allison Sargent there with the press review.